Welcome to an extra super duper special mega event here on ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man whose name translated from the ancient Greece is Archimedes. I give you the Brent.
Yo, weary traveler.
That's all you got, Archimedes?
Sorry.
That's why you're such a jerk. You got nothing good to say. So,
and I called you weary.
well, that's true. If you joined us last week, I am weary.
Yes.
If you joined us last week, you might be wondering why we're on an hour earlier. Wrong! We're all right on time. America has time shifted. That's what we do. We have traveled forward in time by 1 hour. But this is our normal time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Nevertheless, if you joined us last week, we spun the wheel. We made the exciting deal, Brent. It's exciting, isn't it?
No. Yes.
It's incredibly exciting.
Some are more excited than others.
Because this week, on this very show, bam, it's Acorn freaking Archimedes, dude.
Man, their acorn is very green.
Archimedes, that's right. The greenest of the green.
That's it.
My friend. Now, I've been dying to dig into the old Acorn Archimedes since me and the boat kept reading its name off when we were covering Amiga software. It came up many times.
Yeah. Yep, and vice versa.
It's got a cool name, the Archimedes.
Well, part of it's cool.
What are you talking about?
Acorn? That's not...
From the small acorn grows the mighty oak, you jerk. That's how it works.
But how does it also grow the mighty Archimedes?
That's right. They got a grove of trees that they pop these suckers out of.
You know, of all the nut family or seed family, Acorn is probably one of the lamer ones.
What do you mean?
You could have went with like chestnut.
The chestnut Archimedes? That sucks. Just for saying that you've once again earned the title Jerkimedes. So what did you know about the Acorn Archimedes before?
Nothing. I saw it doing some Amiga stuff in the past, but never even cared to look it up.
That's
so
right.
I went into this 100% blind.
Well, so pretty much like every week.
I mean, I didn't even know what decade this thing was released in. I thought it was an 80s computer.
Oh my!
I thought it was late 80s. I was wrong.
Allow me to edumacate you.
I am ready for my edumacations.
Because this thing is a pretty interesting machine. Let's talk about this bad boy. So developed by the fine folks at Acorn Computers, this machine was released. And by the way, you weren't wrong. Why are you laughing about that? Why is that so funny to you, Acorn?
Why? Why would they do it? Okay, go ahead.
This thing was released in the 80s, June of 87. So it's in that wheelhouse. It's right there. Okay. It's very similar to the timeline of the Amiga. Now, this thing wasn't cheap, brother. It was introduced at a price of £800.
That's not horrible.
Today's wad, $2,300.
Yeah, I mean that's what you would
in pounds, or 3 large in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean
3 large,
$3,000 is what you would expect to pay for a top tier computer now.
Well, I'm just saying, and this was maybe you're right. I don't know. So let's talk about, before we get too far into the Archimedes, let's just briefly touch on the actual company of Acorn, because
I want to know why. Again, I just don't understand the whole nut theme.
Well, listen, I don't know why they're called Acorn. I don't got that. Sorry, I'm not going to help you out here. I think Acorn is a great name, especially when you're into educational computers. Like I said, from the Acorn.
This was an educational computer?
No, this wasn't.
Oh, okay.
So Acorn was a British company, obviously, that were from Cambridge, and they came into being around 78, 79, okay? Now, their big claim to fame was the BBC microcomputer. Now, we covered that.
Yes.
I think Bo, me and you cover that? I know me and Bo covered it.
Yeah, much more fun computer.
What are you talking about? What?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, you're out of your mind. Anyways, so this computer was the bomb. Of course, it was developed with the BBC and used to coincide with their TV series tutorial on how to use computers. They taught the nation how to use these. They were in schools. They were everywhere. And so at some point they were like, hey, time to upgrade this sucker with something awesome. And so here we go. So amongst the things that Acorn had going for it, this thing was the first RISC-based home computer, Brent. RISC. All right. there were three different types of. There were three different runs of the Archimedes. You got the 300, the 400, the 500 series. It's a lot like the Amigas. They're pretty much sort of the same with some like extra accoutrement. Now, you had. I've got a list here of your different Archimedes models. It's a very short list. So if you had the A305, that's the 512K RAM.
That's a why do you even have a computer?
No, that's not true. That's exactly. Listen, this is exactly what the Amiga 1000 was like. That and then you've got the A310. That's your 1 meg. The 410 had a meg. Then you get again. These are very similar to the Amiga.
Yeah.
Then you go into the 420. You've got the 2 megs of RAM, and this one comes with a hard disk.
I think this is the minimum.
Then you've got the 440. It came with 4 megs of memory and a 40 meg hard disk. We are so spoiled now. And then the A540, the big dog, 16 meg of RAM. This is sort of like their A4000T or something.
Yeah.
With a 120 meg hard drive. So then you're laughing when you get to that part of it. These things had all the normal stuff you would expect. They had a built-in 3.5-inch floppy drive. They had all kinds of extra crap. Again, just like the Amiga, there were people making cards for it. They had MIDI cards. They had SCSI cards. They had all kinds of crap. They had FPUs.
This is way closer to a modern computer than a lot of the stuff we've covered in the past.
This one falls, to me, it falls firmly into that Amiga.
It is.
Into that Amiga zone.
No, I 100% agree. Because it has tons of, like you were saying, expansion cards and stuff.
Yeah.
It had a lot of them.
Now, let's talk about the games on this thing.
Okay.
All right, just for a minute before we move on to our thing. So, if you look, I found some websites that had lots of old ads and stuff for this thing, and so I looked through them. Now, me and Boat have covered a ton of Amiga games, obviously, and so we've came across the Archimedes a million times, and again, very Amiga-like. And I looked at some of their games, and they had a lot of the same games, frankly. They had a lot of the exact same games, actually. And some of the games, I actually tried a bunch of games this week just to dip my toe in the pool on this thing. And
I had played a few of them.
This thing, I would say, now again, you're talking about someone who is not a aficionado on our Archimedes, and I'm certainly not an aficionado on sound and graphics and the resolution and stuff. But they look, I would say the Archimedes, just from my experience, the audio was sort of on par with the Amiga, and the actual video was not quite there, but pretty good. It wasn't quite as good.
Now, I would agree with that.
That much said, it did some things that the Amiga couldn't do better. And one thing I noticed is that when it came to, and of course this goes back to that RISC processor, no doubt. When it came to like rendering 3D objects in space, like that's a whole different ball game.
Yes.
This thing can move objects around like they were going out of style, and so that was a real strong point. That's sort of one of Amiga's weaker points.
Yeah.
One thing this thing had going for it, of course, the RISC processor has now been around for quite a while. But I mean, RISC and ARMS, these guys actually pioneered all this stuff, and so they knew what they were doing when they put this machine together. They knew what they wanted it to do. And one of the things they did that I thought was really clever is they put their operating system on a chip. When you boot the thing up, it comes right up. Now, I had heard that this thing had a really good sort of front end, like an operating system, and I thought it did.
Yeah.
It was very Windows-like.
Yeah, it was very 311-ish.
Once I found a good emulator for this and could actually get in there and tool around, I went and messed around with the front end. And the front end is they had paint programs, they had setup programs. Mm-hmm. The way it was structured was sort of like I would put it on par with say like a Windows. It was like somewhere in the ballpark of like a Windows 95. I mean, it wasn't as robust, but I'm saying the way it was set up was pretty good.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was very Windows 311, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I thought Windows 311 was great for the time. Mm-hmm. Everything was very intuitive. I didn't have any trouble getting around. Everything made sense. I thought it was actually really good.
Yeah.
And when you installed stuff, it was kind of odd when you installed something on the emulator. It would put it down into a list of icons. And one thing I didn't like that it let you do is you could install the same thing multiple times without even really knowing it.
Yeah.
So I installed, like I was trying to get my game to run, and I kept installing it. So I had like 7 of them installed.
It's one thing if you didn't know what you were doing, you could do that. But it's funny. Some of the games I tried did that, and some of them just ran. You know.
Yeah. Well, so I think that's the coding of the game. I'm just saying, I wish when it did install it, it made its presence more well known than just pop it. I guess once you do it once, you figure out that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge deal. I'm just saying from a beginner's experience, I found that a little odd.
I should mention here, according to my notes, I had a good laugh. The operating system was named Arthur. And then they renamed it Risk OS. Good move. and I love the graphical interface is called WIMP.
Yeah.
Horrible. Windows menu icon pointer. I thought that was pretty funny too. Overall, though, this thing, as we have tiptoed through a bunch of these old games and these old machines, let's face facts. We've had a rough go of it when it comes to some of these operating systems. We're trying to use some of these machines. This one I thought was a breeze. So if you want to,
I agree.
If you want to emulate this thing, it's not that tough. I mean,
and what emulator you get makes a huge difference.
Do you remember the one I sent you?
I honestly don't.
Archimedes or something like that. I can't remember. I'll put something about it in the show notes down there at the bottom of the screen. So these guys held on for a while. It did pretty well. They discontinued this in the early 90s.
Mid-90s.
Yeah, well, it depends on your perspective. I guess it was somewhere.
Because it was after 95. Or
was it?
Yeah, it was on or around 95.
I don't think so. Let me reconsult my notes here. I think maybe you're on Super Crack. Mid-90s. My bad. So, and eventually BBC, the Acorn was broken up, and it went into several different areas, including phones and whatnot. But the RISC processor's still around, ARM's still around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're carrying an ARM processor right now.
To me, I remember back in the day, I was thinking to myself, the RISC, they sounded really cool. Like, oh, man, this sounds really neat. It seemed like real super exotic and whatnot. These machines, they're still around. I mean, people are still using them. I found a pretty decent community out there, and there's plenty of places to get the games.
I want to say something about the community that I found out. Originally, I wanted to play a game called Morph.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Well, I
had the show set up for Morph and everything.
I attempted to find the game, and it's a fairly rare game.
Yeah, I'd say.
Well, no, let me talk.
I'm sorry.
So I started doing some digging with a couple sources that find rare games. That's kind of their thing. And I asked him if he had found anything on the Archimedes where I can maybe get either a full dump of everything or blah blah blah. And he said that the Archimedes community is a little weird when it comes to game distribution, and when they get those rare ones, they hoard them and trade them. Remember the Mugen community where you would trade fighters with everybody, and some people would have all the fighters, and then they would only trade with people to get new fighters. Apparently, the Archimedes community, at least back in the mid-2000s, when this guy was hot and heavy into getting Archimedes games, that's the way they do it. You've got to get into those forums. You have to get into those communities to get some of the rarer titles. I understand it, and also they've got a big thing with some of these games are still purchasable by the original copyright holders. So they try to avoid getting those games dumped out on the web. So they're very protective of the software that's out there. And I found that very interesting. And that's one of the reasons why I couldn't find my game.
I found tons of software.
No. There is. But another thing you have to understand is there are tons of things out there for the Archimedes. Tons and tons. But some of those rare titles people kind of hoard.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at a chat here, and Amiga Bang just brought up a good point I'd forgotten to mention. If you notice, if you're watching at home, you've got a set of orange keys across the top of this, or red. The function keys in this were colored differently depending on basically the purpose of that machine. You had different colored keys for home, education, for business. This is a kind of a wacky setup, but I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
The keys do give it. It does have a different look to it with those different colored keys.
Yeah, I'm for that.
Yeah, I like that. So I did, like I said, I looked like game busters for your game. And the funny thing is, the same people that make the game I did this week did your game.
Yeah, Fourth Dimension.
You would think it wouldn't be, your story reminds me more of the virtual pinball community than the
them too.
community.
Oh no, the Mugen community was exactly like that.
So nevertheless, we were tasked with coming up with a couple games. And again, having looked over a ton of these games, and I looked over a bunch.
I looked over 6 or 7.
This thing has a slew of tremendous games, in my opinion. Just from the ones I played and the ones I looked at now. Does this translate well if you're coming over from, say, an Amiga or an Atari ST? Are you going to be blown away? You're going to be in familiar territory. Let's just say that. But this thing did have some games that I didn't see on any other system, which is the one I picked was something I don't think got released on anything else.
Same with me.
And same with
yours.
So there's some hidden gems out there if you care to look, and there are some big name games out there as well that we didn't look at, but they are very popular in the community.
Absolutely.
Like there are some pinnacle games on this machine. So let's go ahead and get into it, Brent. I'm going to let you lead the show this week. What do you got for us?
Since I couldn't find Morph, I went with Oddball.
Yeah, this. Tell them about this one.
Oddball, very interesting game. This was released way late into the cycle of the system. It was released in 1995. This is one of the very few original 32-bit Archimedes games. And it used that processing power to manage these huge sprites and huge environments and pushed 3-layer parallax scrolling, which was really nicely done. So Oddball, what do? Okay, let me step back a second. I don't like Arkanoid games. I don't like breakout games. I find the concepts very boring.
You don't like Revenge of Doe?
No, I don't like any of them. So when I saw this, I thought, okay, maybe this is going to change my mind because this is such a different concept, a different take on that kind of gameplay. In Oddball, you play as a paddle, and you have a ball that you hit around just like, up and down. But you can take your paddle and go anywhere in the level. And these levels are expansive. So you're basically just trying to control your ball to not hit certain squares or certain areas that will kill your ball and take out all the bricks. The issue with the game is the paddle on this thing is huge. The paddle takes up 1/3 of the screen.
Yes.
Okay?
It is very...
The ball...
You're very zoomed in.
Yes. The ball is the size of like a quarter, like on your screen. So you're navigating these levels, and if you didn't have the map that was in the upper right-hand corner, they call it the scanner, this game would be absolutely unplayable. I looked at the scanner 90% of the time when I was playing to navigate the ball through these vast levels.
Yeah.
And like I said, there are a few hazards. Your ball can go off the board and you can die that way, although the boards are pretty contained. The ball, the way I died more than anything else was the ball would get smashed between moving blocks.
It's hard to die.
It's not hard to die in the later, well, not later levels, because I only got to level 4 on this thing, but it gets easier to die the farther into the game you get. You also get all the power-ups you would expect. There are, multi-ball and magnet, and one of the early power-ups you get, I think you can start with this, is you get a line that shows where your ball is at if it's not on the screen with you. So
I don't think that's a power. I think that's the thing. Because you can turn it on and off.
Yeah, you can. Because you can get things to replace it.
It's like an aim line.
No, it just shows you where the ball is at. It doesn't help you aim.
Yeah, help me aim.
No, it shows you where the ball is currently at. But you can get that. You can replace that. It's a power slot, and you can put other powers into that.
I never got another power.
Also, you can get one-time powers. Like you start with one that just stops your ball. So if it's heading towards the hazard, you can hit it and stop it. The game is played entirely with the mouse. So if you have poor mouse skills, you're done.
Poor mouse skills.
You
better. Did you adjust the sensitivity to get
yours?
I turned mine down to the slowest it can be.
Yeah.
Because this thing whips around, you're like, trying to control it.
The ball is very floaty. They do some interesting things with going up ramps in the game where you have to take your paddle and physically push the ball over the ramp because you won't get enough speed otherwise.
Yeah.
And the ball speeds handle very well. When you hit a ball and you kind of push your paddle into it, kind of like an air hockey type effect, it will go flying really fast. And you can also kind of ease the ball under your paddle to stop the ball if you need a second to think about where you need to go next. So all that sounds decent, right?
No.
Here's where the game really falls apart.
This is where it falls apart.
The levels are so huge, and they don't just go vertically.
Yeah.
They go horizontally just as much as they go vertically.
Yeah.
But your paddle is still rectangularly shaped, so you have all this surface area on the top and the bottom, and just these itty-bitty little nubs on the left and right. To get your ball to go left and right, you can hit it with the little side nubs, but really what they want you to do is bounce the ball up onto a vertical surface and have it angle to go left or right. In some of the levels, the walls are so far away.
Yeah.
If you do that, it takes forever for the ball to come back down, and then the tediness of the game sets in.
Tediness?
That's right. Where you just want the game to end.
I agree. This was a what'd you say? Tedious? I agree with that part.
It is a very tedious game. It is slow paced for the most part. You don't have enough control of your ball to ever feel like you're in control.
Yeah.
And the levels, level 1, it's a very good introduction level.
No.
Level 2, it adds a few elements. Level 3, it starts to get a little more difficult, but it's only because of trying to get the ball in these itty-bitty little spaces. And by the time I got to level 4 where there's teleporters, which is a neat concept for what they're doing because you have to teleport and then find your ball and start hitting it again, I was done. I never actually lost all my lives to this game. I just gave up out of frustration. Aaron, what did you think about this?
Well, when you switch this game, I was like, I got to get in here and play this thing quick because we're, 11th hour. And I sit there and played this. I loaded it up, but once I ascertained what this was, I literally was. This game is appropriately titled. This is the goofiest concept of all the time. A giant paddle, and this game is not a ball and bounce type game. It's more of a treat the ball like garbage, like kick it around. This is like if you were playing soccer and you couldn't kick the ball more than a foot away from your foot, so you're just kind of smashing as hard as you can. Go! Would you just go? Or like if you're trying to get rid of your cat or dog, get them out of your room. Get out of here. They won't go. This ball is a jerk.
Well, it just does what you tell it to do.
You're too zoomed in.
All right, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Number 2, now listen, I'm not going to blame the thing for the control because this thing may control great with an Acorn Archimedes mouse, which I'm sure are the best. What? What do you mean? They're good. But my mouse, and I had decent control, but it was super duper sensitive. So first you got to turn this thing down to the lowest sensitivity.
Yeah, I went into Windows and just changed my Windows sensitivity of the mouse.
Well, I mean, the game has sensitivity too.
It wasn't enough. I had to go even lower.
All right, and then when you get in here, you'll notice in the first level, you said the first level was good. It's not good.
No, you can barely die on it.
What they do is you've got this huge level.
Yeah.
And
all the levels
and
are
then
huge.
You've got like 4 or 5 little sections of brick. They're not together.
No.
There's no bouncing it around. This isn't like a 3D virtual Arkanoid. This is This is so frustrating to actually get through.
It is.
To get the ball up to the... When you knock out these blocks, you feel like King Dong. You're like, I have done it. It takes forever, and it's so frustrating. You got one block left. And the worst... So I roll into level 2.
Uh-huh.
And you get there, and this level has you start in this, like... Corridor.
Yeah.
But it's an uphill slug to get your ball out because there's stairs.
Yeah, literally. You have to, it's an upward
So
platform.
you can't just hit the ball. You've got to like literally punish the ball to get it out these stairs.
You have to push it, yeah.
You have to push it real good,
That's
man.
right.
And it's not good. This game is not real good because it's not fun.
It's not.
Listen, are the mechanics or the geometry or whatever you want to call it, the gravity, is it good? I don't know. I mean,
it's
maybe.
okay. Yeah.
But it's just not fun. It's like they replaced the ball in Revenge of Doe. Instead of it's like a tennis ball or a rubber ball, it's like a bowling ball. And instead of having like a nice tight alley like you would bowl in, it's like let's bowl in a warehouse. And let's put the pins in various corners of the warehouse. And then, hey, here's a thought. Let's put up barriers and stairs. And now go. And you're like, ugh, like a doofus trying to get to... It's no good. I think what we've got here is a first-person pinball sort of affair. If you followed us on the Amigos from way back, here's a concept that someone thought was clever. It does seem like they were thinking out of the box.
Yeah.
And they did their best with the hardware provided to come up with a game that would foot the bill. And it's just, hey, listen, sometimes when you do something like that, it don't work, brother. And it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So Oddball is a dud, in my opinion.
This release, like I said, was at the end of the cycle for the Archimedes.
Yeah, that's what killed it right there.
How much do you think this game cost on release?
Public domain free. No, I'm sure $29.
Nope, this released for £9.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
So, I'm not going to say this was a budget title, but they released it really cheap. And since it did release at the end of the life cycle of the Archimedes, they dropped the price really fast.
Right.
So after the first month or two of release, it was down to a £5 game. And then after that, they were actually releasing it free with magazines.
For free?
Yeah.
It's still not fun, but it's cheap at least. I think the thing is the concept of sort of this roving breakout, there may be something to it. Like, there might be something there. It's just they didn't do a good job. Like, here's my thought on this. Think about this for a second. Pretend it's Arkanoid. Okay?
Okay.
Now.
I don't like it.
Hold on. I'm just saying, compared to this. Now, you know the view you've got in Arkanoid. It's a pretty distant view. You can see the whole board. Now, just take that view and just blow the board up to like 10 times the size, okay? But you're still far off, and the ball is still far. It can bounce far away. That would give you some leeway and some time because, again, you're moving in all directions. You need time, and you need that distance to line up your shots. It's like playing pinball, and the pinball machine, your face is on the glass, and you can't aim. You don't know what the hell's going on,
Something that you might or might not be surprised to hear. This actually started out as a tech demo.
Bam.
And someone said, hey, that's kind of neat, and then they made a game. So you were dead perfect on that. That's exactly what happened.
You know what would have made this better? I've got all kinds of ideas. All right, keep this. Everything's the same except for one thing. You ditch the paddle. That's gone. All right.
All right.
You zoom out a smidge. Okay, and then you make this a trackball game, and you're like Marble Madness, and you're controlling the ball with the trackball. That might be fun. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that would be an absolutely different game.
No, it'd be a better game.
It would be a better
game. Listen,
game.
I'm making better games for these guys.
Real quick before you move on, what do you think of the music track in this? I thought it was decent. I thought it was fun
again,
enough.
the music in this sounds just like some in-game music you would find on like the Amiga.
It kind of reminded me of a demo loop too.
Yeah.
One of the scene.
It was okay. And I wonder how the demo and audio scene is on the Archimedes because I didn't see anything about it. Because it seems like it'd be a pretty good demo machine.
If you're looking to pick up Oddball nowadays,
Yeah.
It's about $30, 30 pounds.
You're kidding. You could actually find these?
Yeah.
On eBay?
Well, okay, I found them on a storefront, so I didn't click as far as to see if they were actually still available, but the storefront had it listed for 30 pounds.
No one's got these. Are you kidding me?
So Oddball, I would give it a rating of do not emulate, do not buy, don't play.
Oh, no, I think you should absolutely try it.
No, I don't.
It's so unique and goofy that you got to try it once and be like, man, because you can't, like, here we are killing it, right? But you can't fully experience the bizarreness of this until you, trust me, when you fire this thing up and all of a sudden you see where you're at, where the ball and the blocks are at, and you've got free reign, it's just like, it's overwhelming.
You know, it's to hear us kill, it's one thing, but you got to go in there and kick the corpse yourself, or it's not the same.
But I'm just saying, yeah, no, you're not wrong. All right, so yeah, there it was. Now I will say, as far as it comes for you to pick a game, replacement game, I expected nothing less than something this bizarre.
Well, let's move on. What did you bring to the table?
You know, you got on me last time. And you've gotten on me a bunch of times for not playing, like we were just talking about the GameCube earlier. When we did the GameCube episode, I picked Def Jam Fight for New York, right? Not a console exclusive, but it's a game I liked.
Yeah, well, I mean.
And you gave me the business. Yeah. Like, oh, that's the business. So I thought to myself, hey, let's see if I can have my cake and eat it too, and pick a game that I think I might like, but it's unique to the system. And so I think I found something that fits the bill. And also, I think this is a pretty big game. The game is Chocks Away. Chocks Away. Now, do you know what a chock is, Brent?
Yeah, it's one of the things you put on the under the tire.
That's right. It's a little gimmick that keeps the plane from rolling off.
It's a really tight. It's a really steep ramp that's very heavy that stops things from rolling.
That's right. Now, so what is Chocks Away? Well, Chocks Away is a World War I flight simulator.
Okay.
Now, I mean.
Arcade flight simulator.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not what I would call. It sets in the war, but it's not like it's not like Wings or something where it's it's nothing like that. But it is in the same ballpark. So again, Chocks Away, developed by Andrew Hutchings for the Fourth Dimension, which are the guys that made this game. Now, I looked into the Fourth Dimension, and wow. That's trippy. Sorry, I couldn't help it. The Fourth Dimension were a big player on the Archimedes.
Absolutely.
A huge player. They put out a ton of games, including the E-Type. Now, I came out. I have no point of reference for these, but I could just look to see what was popular. They did the E-Type series. They did something called Demon's Lair. They did the Real McCoy series. They did the Saloon Cars, the Dungeon, White Magic. They did all those. They did something called the Holdout series. They did a ton of games. They also did Morph.
Yeah,
we should mention that.
No, we should.
Andrew Hutchings did what I think were two very popular games in the system. He was basically the behind the duo that worked on a game called Starfighter 3000, which apparently is quite good. He also did Stunt Racer 2000. I almost picked both those, to be honest with you, because they look pretty cool. But I ended up, you know me, I'm a sucker for games like this. That's why I went with it. Now, again, released in 1990. This is a flight simulator that is, the whole premise of this thing was to make it so anyone could use it. Okay, and so it's in the same with just my kind of flight simulator, dumb guy type flight simulator. You just get in there. There's not a bunch of crazy controls and stuff.
It's arcade style.
That's right. So what is this game? Well, it's a bunch of different things. When you bring it up, you get an option screen that gives you the choice of 1 or 2 players and several different missions. You got missions, you've got practice, and you've got dogfight.
Yep.
Okay, now. This thing puts you in the role of someone flying a single British Tiger Moth aircraft, all right, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with this particular aircraft. Now, I looked this thing up on the wiki, and this thing wasn't around, apparently, in the First World War. So I don't know, but I'm just saying that's what it is. So I'd never heard of it. So it's not like I'm some kind of World War I flying expert, but I know a little bit about it, and I'd never heard of that one. So what do you do in this? Well, your goal is to take off and go through a bunch of missions, and a lot of the missions are like go to the airport and blow up everything around the airport, or take down X amount of fighters. It's pretty much the standard fare stuff. What you get with this game, though, and again, it's sort of like a Wings without the storyline stuff. But what you do get from it is the graphics that we wish we'd have gotten in Wings. This thing, one thing that I've learned about the processor in the Archimedes is that when it comes to rendering stuff like a flight simulator, like this thing is the bomb. I mean, it is smooth as silk and plays great. I played this thing quite a bit. I tooled around in the plane. I even hooked up my joystick for this one, Brent. You know me. I usually just use a keyboard. And this thing plays great. I really thought it moved very smoothly. I thought it was a lot faster than playing Wings, which is, again, I can't help but compare it. And it was a lot faster than Knights of the Sky. And when you move at a good clip like that, it allows you to do cool stuff. Like I felt kind of like a big man when I was driving my plane around.
It was certainly maneuvers that most people weren't doing in World War I planes.
What do you mean?
It was very arcadey.
Yeah, that's what I want, man. Yeah. That's why I like this. So this thing has a whole host of cool and interesting stuff that you can do in it. And I managed to, thank God for this magazine site, because I managed to find some ads for it, and they kind of give you an idea of what you can do in this thing. So it's got 256 color graphics, right? It's got good sound. I mean, it sounds real good.
It's okay, yeah.
Now we'll get to the 2-player stuff in a minute, but you could have mouse support, you could have keyboard. It supported it would give you mouse 1, 2 through 5. Did you notice that? I was like, what in the God's name? I don't know how many mice you could have hooked up to this thing. This thing lets you record your flights.
Yeah,
which is that's really cool. It's you've also got varied views like you did on Wings. You can go from all the different angles, which is cool.
You only want cockpit, though.
Well, I mean, you could actually use the different angles to see where the planes are, if because it moves quick. It says in the documentation there's 18,000 kilometers of map. When you put all the maps together, right, which is cool. There are 20 missions, right? You also, as you go in the missions, you can get promoted. So all the way up to you can get to Marshal of the RAF.
Yeah, super captain.
Yeah, which is cool. You've got a variety of enemies. Now this was interesting because there's a score element to this that, again, not part of Wings. As you go through this, and you're going to come across not just other airplanes, but you're going to come across tanks, boats, all the crap around airports, headquarters, anti-aircraft stuff, and tons of different planes.
Structures.
I mean, I saw all kinds of focuses I'd never even seen before. And when you get right up on the planes, they look pretty sharp. The colors are kind of odd, but they're lots of yellows and greens. But I thought it looked really good in terms of the play. I mean,
it looked decent. Yeah.
To be rendered in 3D. You also have a bunch of cool non-war related crap on the ground. Like if you played Wings, you really don't have anything on the ground. It just looks like fields.
Yeah.
This has churches and buildings and stuff like that, which is, I mean, it means something.
Structures.
I think that's cool. You don't seem as impressed as I was about that.
No, I mean, it had stuff.
It did have stuff. I agree. That's a good point. Now, so what you've got here is a simple, easy to use flight simulator with 20 missions. Not bad. So, but what's the rub? What's the real cool thing? Well, I mentioned earlier that this thing has 2-player support. Now, you can have you can hook this up via your serial cable if you want to, but you've got 2-player support. Now, how does that work? You've got the ability to dogfight your buddy, which is cool. But one of the awesome things you can do is do all the missions as a team.
Yeah, co-op.
Now, I'm dying to try this, and I was hoping we get to do it this week, but my week was a nightmare. I didn't get a chance to do nothing. I would think that would be awesome. I love the idea that you could go in these missions, and the missions are pretty, I mean, the play area is pretty large, so I think there'd be enough to do without running into each other, you know what I mean? That looked. Is there something in the bottom of your cup there?
No, keep going. I'm just waiting for my turn.
Okay. So, but anyway, so you've got this. I think you got a solid game here. I looked around in the documentation. It looks like this thing was selling when it was new for $24.95, 24 pounds, 95p. So
a full price game.
Oh, and also I should mention this saves your high scores like the disc. So it actually saves, which I was like, hey, listen, not all games did that. So this game did well, but did well enough to where it actually got a missions disc. Now this game came on 3 discs. And then they released another missions disc. Now first of all, they updated the versions of Chocks Away. I know that at least once because there's a version called Mark 1. And I know they actually changed some of the stuff in the manual. That I do know. And then they also released a Mark 2 version, which I think actually made some changes to the actual game itself, some like tweaks. All right, so I know there were 2 versions of the original. I don't know how you update it. I don't know, maybe you didn't. I don't know how that would work. Then you've got the Chocks Away missions disc. Now, this thing had a pretty beefy manual, and I tried like gangbusters to find a readable copy, but I saw guys selling them, but I didn't see anybody where I could get it to read it. But it's pretty huge. And I know one thing this thing also has is when you play it, there's a demo at the beginning. It's like a 90-minute demo of a guy playing this game, and he actually is going through and showing you all the different maneuvers. He goes on some of the missions. And in fact, the video, if you're watching at home, the video I made here is of the demo, because this guy's way better than me, and of just him flying around. It's neat though of the stuff he does in this, and also you get a good idea of what the missions are like too if you are stinky. Although even the first couple missions, even I could get past those. They weren't that tough. So the extra mission discs, you had 20. It came with 26 extra missions. That's a ton. Right, that's cool.
It's a good DLC package.
Yeah. It also gave you extra stuff. So it came with 16 new maps. It came with 20 enemy planes and 20 targets, right? Which is pretty awesome. It had all the stuff the other one had. You could still view it from any angle and whatnot. And you got new targets to shoot on the ground. And you also had like balloons, gunboats, oil tankers. They added a ton of stuff to this thing. So I think that's awesome.
And improved the graphics on the DLC.
A little bit, yeah. And also the new sounds and stuff. But here's the thing I wanted to get to. If you bought this disc, you were automatically entered to win and this is a quote, a superb radio-controlled biplane. Successful completion of all 6 reconnaissance missions will allow you to enter the competition. Tally-ho, Ginger. That's what it says. What is that? Tally-ho, Ginger? Maybe someone from the UK can explain why it's Tally-ho, Ginger is written on there. I thought that was kind of weird. So overall, it's funny. This game doesn't have the character of a Wings, or it doesn't have the love and attention that you get from the little cutscenes in Wings. But what this does have is some rip-roaring action. And I think, you keep looking at me like you don't think I know what I'm talking about. What do you think of this? It seems like you're ready to kill it. What's the problem?
Nope, this game plays great.
Okay.
It looks decent.
Yeah.
It does so many things right and one major thing wrong.
What?
The maps are too big. You spend so much time flying to your objective that it gets boring.
Well, you're not totally wrong there. The maps are huge. I think they're supposed to be realistic, and I think this is one of those games where you can tell the guy that made it probably really liked flight simulators. And so, if you ever played one of those things where you go from like point A to point B, and a lot of it's just you driving around the plane in long spaces. This is not as focused as the combat in Wings. At least the missions I played. I didn't play all the missions.
I played 3 missions.
Yeah.
And the first mission was go here and destroy this tank, and if you can destroy this other thing too, that'd be awesome. I was like, cool. So I jumped in the plane. I did some practice missions before and some dogfights and stuff to kind of get a feel to how the flight was going to be and everything. Yeah. And so I took off. And for my first actual mission, pulled up the map, saw where I was supposed to go, pointed my plane to it, and I was like, okay, cool. And I kept trying to find buttons to make the plane go faster. But you can only go so fast.
Yeah, these aren't jets.
And it took literally not figuratively, literally 10 minutes for me to get to my target. Okay? That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable because I got there, I got shot down, I died, right?
Yeah.
And then that's it. I'm going to have to go back and fly another 10 minutes to get... No. So I went on to the next map thinking, okay, maybe that was just... They wanted you to get the feel for the controls, whatever. The second map has 2 objectives. You go to the enemy airport and take out their towers.
And all the support buildings.
So, okay, that sounds fun.
It is fun.
I pull up in the map. It has you in the middle. And the objectives to the left and right. So I go to the closer objective. It's like 8 minutes. And I actually do what I'm supposed to do. I don't get shot down. And then the flight to the other one, I quit after 15 minutes and I still didn't get there.
I don't remember it taking that long.
It absolutely did. And the maps, while there are things on there, you eventually you have buildings, so you'll have roads and you'll have vehicles and you'll have anti-aircraft. It's too spaced out, and there is not enough stuff to do in between going to these mission points. So you just sit there, and you just sit there. There's nothing to do. So when the action is going and there's stuff on screen and you're shooting at things and things are shooting at you, it's fun. It's really exciting. It's really enjoyable. But all of the in-between sections are just so tedious. So tedious. I couldn't do it.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, I will say you're an idiot, but not in this case. There is that sort of, I call it the 2001 syndrome, where there's a lot of just watching your thing fly around without anything actually happen. But I think the combat is a lot of fun.
It is. It absolutely is.
And I will say the detail in this thing is incredible. You could actually, I would shoot guys and follow them down. And you could watch them careen to the ground. They satisfyingly exploded.
Yep, every bit of that's true.
The planes look different.
Yep.
The different planes look cool.
Landing is not a huge pain. It's fairly easy to do.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, they made this simple. In fact, the manual, the part I read said they'd made this so everyone from children to expert pilots could play this and feel like they're getting their money's worth.
Well, the controls are very arcadey. I mean, you could do things that you would never be able to do in a biplane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
But
I could never do any of this stuff. I'd be puking.
And when you shoot, you get this nice, steady stream of ammo.
Yeah.
And it feels real good as it impacts one of the targets. Got good sound and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I couldn't play this for a long time.
Well, again,
I turned on my own music and tried to get pumped up that way. But the space in between action was just too much.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, without the manual, if there was any sort of like time compression, I didn't know about it. So
yeah,
and I suspect there's not.
I wouldn't think so.
But I don't think that's something that should drive you away from this one. I think there's a lot there. I didn't get to try the missions disc, but in fact, I did see it out there, so it's definitely out there. I looked up some. Luckily, I found some ads. Of course, these are there are some reviews for this thing. These are mentions that are in the ad, so they're a little bit slanted. But I know for certain, it says here, Chocks Away Mark I was awarded Game of the Year in 1990 by Acorn User, A&B Computing, Risk User, and Micronet. All those gave that Game of the Year in 90. This makes me wonder why I've never heard of this game. I mean, how many games win like 4 or 5 magazines Game of the Year?
Well, I mean, that's not crazy uncommon.
That's incredible.
At least nowadays.
It's never happened in the history of man.
Oh, wow, okay.
According to Risk User, December 90, the graphics in this game are superb, smooth, with plenty of ground detail. This is a real enthralling flight simulator with plenty of variation and features to ensure longevity.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be playing it for a long, long time.
The magazine Archive from January 91. Chocks Away is a delightful game. That's all I had to say. BBC Acorn User of December 90. Chocks Away is a brilliant game. It's really a great game. Playability 10, value 10, says the Micro User from January 91. And then the new Computer Express I love that. Chock, you beat me to it. Chocks Away Mark II version. The speed increase obviously makes the game more responsive and fun to play. Well and truly overtaking Interdictor 2. I'd like to try that. The Interdictor. As well as the best Archimedes playing game. So this thing was heralded. The extra missions, I'm not going to go through all these, but it also was heralded.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty here to like. It's just there's also plenty here to fall asleep while you're playing it.
I like this review. How do you improve on a game that left me rushing to my thesaurus to describe it? Well, those guys at Fourth Dimension have delivered the goods once again and have somehow managed to improve on the best flight simulator on our humble Archimedes. That's from the Club A3000, summer of '91. So yes, the extra missions discs were heralded. In case you're wondering what this crap costs, now get this. I wanted to get to this because this is sort of important. So we mentioned Chocks Away, basically 25 pounds. The extra missions discs with the 2-player serial link option, 20 pounds. That's not bad for all those missions, right? Now here you get this. This is the compendium. This is a combination of both games, 40 pounds. This I found interesting here. The Chocks Away network, the EchoNet/MIDI. I don't know what this even is. It says call for price. So I don't know if you could run some sort of thing that you can log people in to play Chocks Away. That would be kind of neat. I would kind of dig that. Overall, though, I thought Chocks Away was freaking awesome.
It was okay.
You seem unimpressed.
It was okay.
But I mean, nothing aside from the time to get places, you thought it was awesome.
Oh yeah.
What did you think about the overall, the playability, the menu system, the fact that you could, the maneuverability of the plane?
I thought your plane was a little weak. I mean, 4 or 5 hits and you're done, and you can take 3 hits in an instant from anti-air fire.
But I mean, it is a World War I plane. They were stuck together with paper.
I get that.
Gum, string.
It's an odd mix of simulation and arcade, which isn't bad. No. I think it's an okay mix of the two. I mean, I won't play it again though.
I will. I must have liked this a lot more than you because I thought it was a lot of fun. And I think this actually shows off the Archimedes. In power, in all of its glory.
Not everything's able to do this.
Yeah, you're not going to run this on an Amiga 500. No. It's a 0% chance. We've got Elite 2 to make Frontier to tell us that. You know what is also glorious, Brent? Glorious, I tell you.
Me?
Ah! It's the wheel.
Oh, that.
Fire that thing up, man. Look, we zoomed in so you can get a better look at the wheel this week. What did you add this week, Brent?
This week we added final retail releases.
This will be the last game a company made before they died.
And then for the Retro Rewind, the GameCube.
The GameCube.
The GameCube.
That's why we were talking about that earlier. All right, let's get this together here. Let's hit it real good and tight. All right, fire it up, man. We want you at home to see the wheel in all its glory. Turn it that way a little bit. It's like we're arm wrestling over this thing. And the winner is... what do we got?
Windows 3XX.
Holy smoke. Windows 3XX. Not something known for its beautiful games. So I think I'll be playing Minesweeper.
These are games that would have launched not necessarily exclusively, but certainly compatible with Windows 3XX, which for most games are going to be Windows 3.11.
So let's make a rule here.
All right.
These we can't, because a lot of DOS games will play Windows 3.XX.
No.
All right, it has to be something specifically made for Windows.
It has to be a Windows game.
That might be kind of hard. Gorilla.bass. Thank you, Buck. I'm sad that I know that. So, any announcements this week? You want to further update us on your merch status?
I canceled my order.
This is a lot like when me and Buck used to cover Defender the Crown remake. It's like week after week of failure and ineptitude.
No, I'm going to pursue other options until some shipping.
Why did you cancel the other order, just for my own edification?
Because it hadn't even shipped. It hadn't even went out the factory yet. I mean, I know they're having issues over there, so I'm not going to hold them against it. And it's a company that I've worked with before that's very professional. And produces a great product.
You canceled the order on them.
Well,
you guys are professional. You never treated me bad. You're gone.
It's more of a thing of I'm going to see if I can find another location that can do the same thing until calmer waters prevail, or the virus runs its course, whichever happens first.
Fair enough. So if you're interested in going back to our back catalog, Brent, tell the people where they go and what to do.
You can find us at anchor.fm/ARG Presents. That is the ARG only channel if you are here to hear us and not all of the awesome programming that is on the rest of the Amigos network, which we are also a part of.
Oh, yeah.
And you can support us through anchor.fm as well. And I do want to say thank you, John, Boat of Cora Schaller, for our first sponsor there. He is sponsoring us, supporting us through what that means. Also, we have to say thank you to all the Patreons out there for the Amigos Retro Network.
Sing it.
No. And
you think Boat's bad?
Yeah. Hey, what are you trying to say?
You're no good. I think you play rock band. Stick to guitar, pal.
Yeah. I always play bass. Yeah, but if you come over to anchor.fm, join us. We have all the past episodes on there. Anything you want to look up is just a click away. And if you have a podcast viewer or listener that allows chapters, you can skip straight to the second game review if you're in a hurry or you're looking for a particular game you want to hear about.
Like today, for example, since Brent was in the opening game, we just skip right over that one.
That's true. You can.
You know who you want to hear.
So, yeah, a lot of options out there if you want to listen to the show.
Yeah, I'll be sure to catch us on YouTube, and also we are on Twitch every Sunday, 9 a.m. In case you missed us. Now, again, our time changed, so this is 9 a.m. in America right now for the East Coast. There you go. So next week, Brent, Windows 3.11. This one's going to go down hard, I think.
No, I think this will be a good one.
Although it'll be a lot easier to emulate. So,
it will.
Thanks for joining everybody in the chat. Quick shout-outs to Gunstar here. I might know who that is. Pixel Don Gaming, Buck Owens, Rushi in the house. He kicked out this morning. Who else we got here? We got Geo Slake. We've got All Sunny. Yep.
Duncan Styles.
Amiga Bang. Picard. He made it so. Retro Gaming Denmark. I've been seeing him around here recently. We had a good turnout today.
We did.
So thanks everybody for coming around. I also want to thank the amazing Duncan Styles for awesome 3D Tron-like graphics. Also want to thank our good buddy, the Bark Bit, for our closing segment, which you're going to hear shortly. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week for some Windows 3.11 action. Until then, party on!